Good morning. Good morning. Welcome to Hufflepuff, everybody, with Jennifer on Thursdays at 9 o'clock. Spring session. We're focusing on the Yamas and the Niyamas this spring. First, the Yamas. These are the first two limbs of the yogic 8-limb path. And Yamas mean social restraints, how we behave out there in the world, how we relate to the world around us. And niyamas are personal observances and habits, how we relate to ourselves. So again, these are the first two limbs of an 8-limb yogic path, all these different ways of achieving a yogic lifestyle. So last week we started with the first yama, which is ahimsa, non-harming, non-violence, and all yamas and niyamas have this one in their core. All yamas are based on some form of non-harming. And today we are focusing on the second yama, which is satya, S-A-T-Y-A, satya, which means truthfulness. And in many ways, I believe integrity. I think that's another good word for satya. So why don't we take a few moments to settle in, and then we'll do a little bit of breath regulation, pranayama, and then we'll get back into a nice reclining pose. So all you need today, a blanket and a couple of blocks. And we'll start seated. I'm in a chair. You can be on the floor, however which way you want to be seated. And take a few moments to settle in. Take some nice deep breaths, cleansing breaths. Clearing out your breath, your body, settling in to your intentions to practice, settling into your space, understanding what your environment is like today. You tap into Satya from the get-go. What's it like to be in this room? And what's it like to be in this body? Take a good, honest assessment as you scan through the physical structure, noting how the body feels today. Notice the aches and the pains. Notice the good stuff as well. Lightness, strength, flexibility. Take it all in and be honest with your assessments. The more honest you are with your body's capabilities, the more honest and truthful you'll be in your practice. You'll honor that foundation. And the idea of Satya is fluid. You know, our truth changes. So what might seem right now might change in the next half hour or so. Something might occur, and you want to be open-minded and open-hearted to receive any new messages that can tweak your body's true self today. Let's take a few more breaths here. Let's focus on the breath, noticing the breath coming in and out of the body. Breathe through your nose as much as you can, as much as the spring season will allow. If you deepen your breath, that can actually help work through some of the blockages that these allergens can cause. So, like I said, your truth can change. Whenever I start to explore pranayama and I feel like I don't have it in me because I'm all stopped up, when I start to breathe more deeply, blockages clear out. What's happening to your breath as you deepen and lengthen, and as you focus on its quality, its path, its depth, how the body responds to it? Go a couple more. And if you close your eyes, you might want to open your eyes again. Or you can keep them closed. It's up to you. The next, well, I'll actually open them up because I'm going to show you a mudra. I want to combine a mudra with the breath technique. The breath technique is uh, Ujjayi breath, victorious breath. We've done this breath many times. Ujjayi breath, it stokes energy in your voice chakra. And I feel like as we explore the ideas of Satya, it's a nice idea to weave in the idea of our voice chakra into our practice. So Ujjayi breath, again, that's a breath that you can hear and feel in your throat. You narrow the passageway of your throat as you breathe in and out through the nose so that you have to push the air in and out so that you can hear it. Sometimes called Star Wars or Darth Vader breath, ocean breath. So if you have any questions about Ujjayi breath, feel free to unmute yourselves and pipe in and ask. Otherwise, we'll play around with our Ujjayi breath and we'll add a mudra to it, a simple mudra called Kali mudra. You might recall it from last semester. It draws awareness to your voice chakra. We interlace our fingers like this, kind of putting them in a little rounded shape, and then we extend our index fingers up and they touch, the tips of the index fingers touch. And then we rest the hands, the mudra, on our third chakra, right above our belly button. And the fingers are pointing up to your throat, to your voice chakra. And as you settle into this position, notice how this mudra compels you to soften your shoulders and relax the neck and lift the heart, all of these things supporting your throat, your voice chakra, your Ujjayi breath. So we'll do about 10 more Ujjayi breaths as we hold our Kali mudra. This is also good for your thyroid, which is located in your throat. A gland that helps us with metabolism, our sleep cycles. Let's go a few more of these Ujjayi breaths. One or two more. Coming back to natural breath as you're ready, and then releasing your Kali Mudra, hands back on your legs. And let's take three more breaths, assessing, reviewing. Maybe something about yourself has changed just in those few moments. And then, as you're ready, let's get into our first pose. Excuse me. We will start in supported fish. Supported fish. So, for those of you who know supported fish, you could go ahead and get into it. And if you're not sure, I will review. You can do two different versions. This is a back bend, a heart opener, an expander of the chest. All of these things are great to help stoke our sense of Satya, truthfulness. So the quieter version with the quieter back bend involves a blanket. You fold it nice and neatly, and you put it across your mat, and you put it where you think that your thoracic spine, where your ribs attach, are going to land. And then you bring the arms and the head behind the body. And if you want, you could always put something under your head for a little bit of support. You want to make sure that your head is not like you're not looking at the wall behind you, because that's going to put a strain to your neck and your throat and your voice chakra and perhaps your idea of Satya. So you want the head neutral. You want it, the back of the head on the floor. And if you want, you could always put, again, another little cushion, something like maybe another blanket or even a sock can be enough. And the more challenging version involves blocks. This is a higher back bend. You take one block, put it parallel. Again, the thoracic spine where the ribs attach, land on it. And then you put another block for your head. And again, avoid putting, sometimes I see folks do this. I'm going to show you. We don't want this, okay? Because this is, again, putting some strain on the neck. You want the heart to be higher than the head. I'm showing you now. The head is higher than the heart. We don't want that. Head is slightly lower than the heart, but also supported and neutral. And as you settle into this position, the feet can be close, they can be kind of far apart. Arms can be wide out to help you open up the heart, the shoulders, the collarbones, your pectoralis muscles get a nice stretch here. All of which support that open-heartedness. All of which can help cultivate your voice and help your voice ring true, helping to cultivate your idea of truthfulness, what's true in your heart. I'm going to lift up, but you stay in your supported fish. And as you continue in this position, if you'd like, bring some of that ujjayi breath into it, compounding the effects of this pose, stoking more energy to your throat chakra. You can keep it very quiet ujjayi breath. Remember, ujjayi breath can bring energy for movement, but it can also on the more quiet end, bring a sense of focus and clarity so it can help you find your truth. Truthfulness can be scary at times. It might even seem dangerous. Many times we lie to avoid telling the truth because the truth is uncomfortable. We lie to avoid hurting someone's feelings. We lie to make ourselves seem better, to seem more right about our assertions. And, not exercising truthfulness is more dangerous than being true, because lying to yourself or to others creates an elusive world. And illusion is complicated and it's not real. It's not steeped in foundations like the truth is. So the truth is steeped in a good, strong, stable foundation. But like I said, it evolves, it changes, it's fluid, it's flexible. So we'll go about maybe 20 more breaths in our supported fish. At any time, you can bring some of that ujjayi breath into it. You don't have to do it the whole time. Sometimes I'll take like 5 or 6 ujjayi breaths and then I back off of it and then I come back to it. If you recall, I've mentioned before that ujjayi breath is a wonderful way to warm up your voice before you have to present something to someone, to a group, to have a difficult conversation with someone. It's conditioning your voice. So as we practice Satya, we're bringing a sense of purity to our ideas, to our actions. Satya gives us a chance to practice what's real, what's true. Rather than what's nice. Because sometimes truth doesn't seem nice. Sometimes we lie to be nice. Sometimes we lie because it seems easier. Someone asks you to an event and you deep down don't want to go, but you say yes, and you immediately think in your mind ways to get out of that commitment. That's a form of not practicing Satya. And in that situation, if you remain true to yourself and just say, you know what? No, I can't do that. Be honest from the get-go. Get it right from the get-go. And here's the idea of doing it right the first time. And then you have less mess to clean up. Because when you lie, you start to make things more complicated and you have to remember more what you said, and you have to back that up, and that gets very difficult and it zaps your energy. You can just be true to yourself. It's much more concise in how you interpret your energy. That didn't come out very well. Conserves your energy if you're true from the beginning. So let's go a couple more breaths in this position. Here's a nice quote from C.S. Lewis. Is my yes coming from a dark corner or from the light in my heart? That's a good way of wrapping up what I just said about committing to something that you really don't want to do. Is my yes coming from a dark corner or from the light in my heart? So come back to regular, natural breath as you're ready, feeling the effects of your fish pose. And then we'll start to come out of our supported fish. We want to do so lightly and quietly. We're going to stay on our backs. So whichever version you're in, start to bring a little bit of movement to your hands and your feet, and bend your knees, feet on the floor. And then you can roll to one side, off the blocks, off the blanket, and move those props out of your way and lie back on your floor with your knees bent, feet on the floor. And we'll take a couple of breaths, allowing that spine to come back to its natural, neutral place. And here's how we can use Satya in our practice. We're going to let that spine settle back down because it's been in the back bend before we do any more movement. We want to start challenges from a good foundation, one that's steeped in integrity. So after another breath or two, that spine has had a chance to settle back down, and then it's safe to start some more movement. Let's start with some wipers. Let's do simple wipers today. We've been doing those 4-leg wipers a lot lately. Let's keep them very simple. That's another idea of remaining true to your practice, is just keeping things simple and gradual. Let's add the head into it as you're ready. Breath guiding the movement as always. Maybe your first few wipers were creaky, but as you evolve, they get less creaky and your edge starts to push out and you can go a little bit further. And that's a good example of how your truth can change. What seemed right at first doesn't necessarily apply as you evolve. Let's go a few more of these wipers. Our movement has a foundation, the earth, as does our truth. Try to remember which side you started on and end on the opposite side to maintain some balance in your movement, coming back to the center and taking a couple of breaths and noticing how you feel. Let's stay on the ground a little bit more. Let's do some very simple movements. Pick up the balls of your feet, leaving the heels on the floor, and then put them back down. And let's do that a few times. lifting the balls of the feet off the floor and then back down. And coordinate it with the breath, inhaling with one motion, exhaling with another. Do your best to listen to the cues and to follow through with these cues, remaining true to your practice. Let's do one more, and then we'll switch. We'll lift just the heels. Inhale with one motion, exhale with another. Carefully applying these guidelines. They keep us grounded, they keep us safe, they keep us maintaining the traditions of this science of movement. And then come on back to stillness and draw your belly in, hug your knees in. And after a couple of breaths in your apanasana, move your feet around a little bit more. We've already had lots of foot movement. Now the feet are off the floor. Notice what it feels like to move the feet in your apanasana, pointing and flexing, maybe making some circles with your feet. Go in opposite directions, one way and then the other. And we'll do a couple more breaths of just moving the feet. Coming back to stillness as you're ready. And then we'll draw circles on the ceiling with our knees, hip circles. Keep the hands on the legs somehow, some way, so that you remain good and grounded and safe. And go in the same direction over and over and over again. Your circles may evolve. They might slow down. Maybe the pace will pick up. Maybe the shape will change. Maybe the circumference gets bigger. Keep things fluid and flexible. A few more rounds. Find a good pause point. Switch directions. Start small and go from there. Explore from that foundation. What's in it on this side? You can apply Ujjayi breath at any time in today's practice. Keep the belly drawn in, protecting your low back. And let's do a few more of these. And bit by bit, slowly but surely, make the circles smaller and smaller, corkscrewing back into the center. And stay here for a couple of breaths. How does your apanasana feel now? And then let's make our way up to a seat. And let's sit for a brief moment. We're not going to stay seated very long. Just long enough to notice what it's like to be seated again after that time on our backs. Let's bring our Kali Mudra into it again. Interlace the fingers, rest the hands on your solar plexus just above your belly button. Extend the index fingers, letting the tips touch, pointing towards your throat, your voice chakra, and close the eyes and notice how holding this mudra, notice what it does to the shoulders and the neck. It's amazing how much the neck lengthens by holding this mudra. It's very profound. And take a few more of those ujjayi breaths here. One more. You can release. Take another breath or two to check in. And then we can get ready for the next part of our practice. Do something a little different today. Do some work on the knees. And I just remember, Kitty, if this is hard on your knees, you can do this all from sitting in a chair. You could be sitting in a chair and do this whole thing sitting in a chair. And I'll show you that in just a moment. The rest of us, let's get into a table with the blocks and face the long side of your mat. So either turn your device or turn your mat so the long side is facing the device and you're facing the long side. And we'll start in a table with the blocks. That's really important that we've got those blocks because we want height in our body. And then as you're ready, we'll go into a cat lunge, bringing the right foot out to the side. So cat lunge is the leg is out to the side. The foot is pointing towards the short side, like our warrior twos. And stay there for a couple of breaths and maybe do a little bit of shifting back and forth. And Kitty, I'm bringing my chair in it to show you. You could be doing this, sitting on a chair with the foot out to the side. And you could be doing your shifting like this. Okay? So you have options, right? And after a couple more breaths in your cat lunge, we'll turn our cat lunge into a Captain Morgan, which means you'll lift the body up, lift the blocks up maybe to help you lift the body up, and eventually come up and put your right hand on the knee and your left hand on the hip. And we'll take a couple of breaths and you could do some shifting back and forth. And your knee can go back past the ankle in this lower to the ground position. And we generally don't do that when we're standing, but here it's pretty safe. And that can help you open up the hip girdle, the pelvis. We can stay here for a couple more breaths. And then, as you're ready, extend the leg that's bent and make sure the foot is on one full surface. So I've moved over a little bit so that my foot is all on the mat. So you don't want half mat, half floor, in other words. You want a good solid surface for that foot. So the leg is extended. It's lined up that foot with the knee. And then when you're ready, draw your belly in so you can protect your low back and lift your left arm up and then start to curve over towards that extended leg, pressing into the knee and the foot that's on the floor, evolving your curve. Maybe it will go a little bit deeper. Maybe you look up at it. Remember, you can do ujjayi breathing at any time. And then as you're ready, maybe one or two more breaths in your gateway pose. This is called gateway pose, Parigasana. You can lift back up with the arm and exhale it back down, returning to your base and then going, let's go back to table and take a couple of breaths in your table. And Kitty, if you're in the chair, just bring the legs back and do a little bit of movement in your seated position. And then as you're ready, we'll do the other side. So once again, we'll start with the cat lunge. Now the left foot will come out. It's out to the side. It's pointing towards the short side as if we were doing a warrior two. The foot is lined up with the knee as if we were in a warrior two position. And we'll stay here some time, shifting back and forth, cat lunge, meow, meow. Got a lot of cat fans in this class. And then we'll eventually start to lift up. Easing into the positions help us apply our Satya to our practice. We don't go up into our Captain Morgan or our Parigasana from the get-go. We ease into it. So a little bit of time in your Captain Morgan. What does your body need? Listen to the messages that are transmitting. Extend that leg as you're ready. Make sure it's good and rooted and in line with the knee. I think you can still see it through the chair there. And foot is rooted, knee is rooted. You want to make sure also your shoulder, your hip, and your knee are making one nice long line. Keep that integrity, that alignment, integrity in mind in your practice. Inhale to lift, exhale to curve. Take your time, shifting into your Parigasana on this side. What's it feel like on this side? Listen to the messages that are transmitted on this side. Maybe things are different. Maybe you evolve a little bit more on this side or a little less. Pay attention to your needs. One or two more breaths. Notice the sensations as they rise. Inhaling back to the center as you're ready. Exhaling that arm back down. And let's make our way back into a table. And then let's make our way up to a standing position. So you've got your blocks. You can bring one foot up and lift that back knee up, turning your low lunge into a high lunge and then stepping that foot forward. Then you've turned your high lunge to a forward fold. And remember, we want to keep integrity in mind the entire practice. That's always a given. So make sure you hinge at the hips. I like to put my hands on the hips to reinforce the idea. Okay, I'm hinging at the hips to bring the body up. And we'll take a few moments to assess and address our surroundings now that we're standing. And move the chair out of the way. We'll still face the long side of our mat. And then move the blanket out of the way. Okay, so we'll do some similar movements now standing. And let's go wide with the feet and find those good foundations in each foot, in each stage of your pose. Try not to rush things. Turn the feet towards the right. Find those three corners. Put the hands on the hips. Bend your right knee. Maybe go back and forth a few times, easing into your warrior two. Take your time, easing into these positions. Eventually bringing the arms up and looking over your right fingertips. And after a couple of breaths in your warrior two, let's add some movement, keeping things nice and fluid. And we'll do a few more of these bows, helping us to open up the back shoulder, the back chest especially. And after one or two more, you can settle back into your warrior two arms. And then let's turn that front hand over and lift up in our sun. And let's do a few of those in a more fluid fashion. Inhaling up into your sun, exhaling back into your warrior two. It's been a while since we've done that. Make sure the back foot is good and rooted so your back leg is good and strong, that you're not caving that back knee down towards the floor. It's lifting away from the floor. Back into your warrior two. Stay here for a breath or two. What's your warrior two feel like now? Let's go into a side angle, bringing the elbow to the knee, or if you'd like, you can bring your hand down to the calf or the floor. You decide how far you want to go. And after another breath or two in your side angle, let's turn it into a triangle. Extend that front leg, that lifts the body up, and then you change the hand direction. Now it's pointing towards the ceiling above you. One more breath. Keep the feet evenly rooted to keep you good and strong. And that can help you with transitioning back to your side angle. Remember, you can do your Ujjayi breath at any time. Lift back up into your warrior two when you're ready. Another breath or two here. Let's do another sun. Let's keep it static this time for a couple of breaths. Remember to keep that back leg good and strong. Back into your warrior two as you're ready. Breath or two here. And bit by bit, slowly but surely, come back to our foundation, that base pose, wide-footed mountain pose. Feet are parallel. Root the feet. Keep them wide. Let the body settle back all on its own. Avoid any moving after you finish that sequence. Just come back and stay still. And then let's heel toe, or hop back to the center. And let's do the same thing here. Now you're to the center. Let the hips settle back in stillness. And then this is a good time to kind of shake it out if you want some movement. And then as you're ready, we'll do the same thing on the other side. So step the feet wide. Find those three corners in each foot, a good solid foundation from which to evolve. And then as you're ready, turn the feet to the left, same thing. Three corners, draw your belly in, lift your heart, bend the knee, bring those arms up. Couple of breaths in your warrior two. Take your time. Remember, you could do a little bit of shifting back and forth like we did on the floor. in our cat lunge. And once you've got a good solid warrior two, let's do some of that bowing action to help us open up that back arm, that back chest and shoulder, so that our chest is facing alongside, especially as we land in that warrior two. We'll land in our warrior two after one or two more of these bowing actions. So your back shoulder's open, it's not turned down, it's open out, right? Let's do the sun warriors. Turn the front hand over, inhale up into your sun, exhale back into your warrior two. And let's do that about 5 times. Inhaling up, exhaling down. Remember to keep the feet evenly rooted the whole time. That will compel those leg muscles to be good and strong, giving you that foundation to evolve, become even more flexible and go a little deeper in your suns. And we'll land back in our warrior two as you're ready. You could sneak in 1 or 2 more as you want. And then we'll turn that warrior two into our side angle. Our Ujjayi breath, our victorious breath, can give us more energy to rise to these challenges. We'll turn that side angle into a triangle. Feet rooted. Revisit those 3 corners every now and then. Make sure they're good and intact the whole time. Making your way back to your side angle. Press into the feet to backstroke back up. One more sun. Let's linger in the sun for a breath or two. Come back to your warrior two as you're ready. Stay here for a breath or two. You don't want to rush any of these transitions. We'll come back to the center and keep the feet wide and keep the body still for at least 2 breaths. Let that left hip come back on its own. Breath can help it. Ujjayi breath can help it even more. Heel toe or hop back to the center. Couple of breaths in the middle, back into a standard mountain. And then wriggle it out. So keeping things simple, building from a strong foundation, and recognizing fluidity and evolving, all ideas of Satya and how we can apply it to our practice. Okay, so let's do some tree poses. It's springtime. We've been playing around with some different balance poses, and we'll do that in the future. Let's keep it pretty simple today. Very simple. Simple trees. I want you to think about where you are and make sure that you pick a version that fits your particular needs. Be honest with your assessment. So if you're feeling tired and unwieldy, you might not want to lift your foot all the way up off the floor. You might want to keep part of your foot on the floor the entire time. As long as the feet are rooted, allowing you to open up the lifted leg hip. That's what we're aiming for, okay? And you can bring the arms into it if you see fit. Start from that solid mountain. Find those 3 corners. Find that strong body in that more simple pose. And then when you're ready, shift to the right and pick up the left foot. And how much do you want to bring up? And where do you want to go with your arms, if at all? They can stay down. You could apply Ujjayi breath here. Are you opening up the hip of the lifted leg? Are both hips even? In other words, one is not higher than the other. One is rotated, but we don't want to make that hip higher as it rotates. Couple more breaths, letting you explore. And bit by bit, as you're ready, slowly but surely, dismantle your pose. Same building blocks. Dismantle that pose, taking you back to your mountain. Carry that tree experience into your mountain experience. They're both very similar. They're both rooted in one another. Take advantage of that camaraderie. And when you're ready, if you want a little bit of movement before you start the other side, do that. Build a solid mountain. And now our left leg will be our standing leg. What version works for this side? It might be different than the other. Ujjayi breath, always an option. One or two more breaths. And slowly but surely dismantle your tree. Once you're back to your mountain, take a couple of breaths, feeling that tree experience beyond. How does it relate to your mountain? How does your mountain relate to your tree? And I don't know if you noticed, but the last couple of breaths, my leg came down. I kind of fell out of my tree, but rather than just bringing down my arms and giving up, I still, even though that my foot came down, I slowly brought my arms down ceremoniously, staying true to the experience to the very, very end. So, what do you need between the two rounds of trees? Movement, maybe you need to change your location, maybe you need to fix your clothes, something like that. And whenever you're ready, we'll build one more tree on each side. Take your time. Your trees might have changed. Mhm. Couple more breaths. Take your time. Bit by bit, coming back to your mountain. And after a breath or two, if you want movement in between the two, this will be the last thing, and then we'll come back down. Take your time building your tree on the left. Rooted feet, strong legs, bit by bit, stabilizing and taking you back out. Try to remain still for a breath or two. Resist that urge to move. Feel that experience. Again, you can do a little bit of movement, maybe some tapping. And let's come down to a brief Sphinx pose. So feel free to put your socks on if you're wearing socks. If you want to put socks back on for the last part of the practice, some people like to keep it warm. We're running out of time, so we don't need much traction for the last few things. Let's make our way down to a Sphinx pose. I put a blanket, I spread it out so it's a little flatter and thinner. And I'll use that for my pelvis. And we'll come down to a Sphinx pose. So that can start with a table pose. Engage the leg and glute muscles to help bring you down. And you land on your pelvis, which might have landed on that blanket. Forearms out in front of you. And we want to make sure that our shoulders, elbows, and wrists are lined up. In other words, they're not out like this, because that's some diagonal lines that aren't going to support your pose. Wrists, elbows, and shoulders lined up. We want to keep integrity in mind as we align our poses, and that keeps our body safe and true to the practice. Feet can be wide or close together, toes can be curled, what works for you. Squeeze your thigh muscles, your glute muscles to help protect the low back as it compresses in this position. Another heart lifter, another heart opener. We're ending similarly to how we began, with a low-key heart opener. And as we hold our Sphinx for some more time, perhaps bring some Ujjayi breathing into it. If you want less of a back bend, the arms come further out. No matter your version, draw the belly in, lift the heart, feel a nice external rotation to your shoulders in the front, allowing you to squeeze your shoulder blades towards the spine and the back, and glide the shoulder blades slightly down towards the thighs. Or, excuse me, towards the hips and the floor. Well, the thighs are in there too. So in other words, you're opening up your chest by squeezing the shoulder blades in the back. And that can help protect your shoulder joints. And that can also help you open up your chest a little bit more. Let's go 3 more breaths. Come back to natural breath if you were doing Ujjayi breath. And then we'll bit by bit slowly make our way back down all the way to the floor. Bend your elbows, stack your hands one on top of the other so that the elbows are pretty far away from each other, and bring the forehead down on the hands. So your elbows are far away so that you can bring the chest down. If the elbows are really close, you'll be lifted up. You want that heart as close to the floor as possible. And let's take about 5 more breaths. And these can be Ujjayi breaths or they can be regular breaths. See if you can bring the feet a little wide in this position. And they can be curled or not, as long as they're wide. Notice what happens with each inhale, what happens with each exhale. Notice how your pose settles and evolves. Maybe you can feel a sense of fluidity in your stillness. And come back to normal breath as you're ready. And then we'll roll over to our backs. And it can be easier to lift up into a table and then come down to your back from the table, go into a seat and then then lie back, or simply roll over. It's up to you. And we'll land in a 2-legged table. And we'll stay here for a couple of breaths, getting used to being in a 2-legged table on our backs again. It's so important to spend some time in each transitional stage. And let's do a twist from here. So arms out to the sides, shoulder height may be lower, you decide. And feet can be on the floor, or if you want, you could start in Apanasana and then go into your twist. What works for you? What version is going to work for you? And proceed accordingly. Knees to one side, looking in the other direction. The softer the shoulders, the easier it is for you to turn that neck. And let's take about 5 breaths here. And they could be gentle Ujjayi breaths if you like. What happens breath to breath? Be mindful of any changes, little shifts that happen on their own. Maybe you help a few shifts, a few settling. Maybe you change something. Notice. When you're ready, try to bring the head back first, then the knees, and again, stay there for a couple of breaths. Feel the effects of that twist beyond it. Go to the other side, build it, stabilize it, release into it, and breathe and explore. When you're ready, head back. That's safer for the neck than the knees. Stay here for a couple of breaths. And then as you're ready, let's do one more apanasana just to bring a nice sense of balance, true balance to the body, symmetry. Draw your belly in before you hug the knees in. This was one of our starting points in the very beginning. We did some hip rolls. So you could revisit some hip rolls here and some foot action. And notice if anything about your apanasana and your hip rolls have changed from the beginning. As you carefully observe and compare and understand experience to experience, you're more likely to understand your truths and your needs, your Satya. You could always turn that into a happy baby if you like. And at some point, we'll make our way back to a two-legged table. So if you did do a happy baby, make sure you return to your apanasana for a breath or two before you come down to a two-legged table. In other words, don't go directly from happy baby to two-legged. And after you're in your two-legged table for a breath or two, and that's a good time. Okay, do you need something for your thighs? You could take your blanket and put it on the floor before you spread the or extend those legs out and shake it out. Maybe, kind of wriggle the body and eventually release into the weight and the shape of the body and just let the body land however it lands. Be true to your body's desired shape and release into that and trace the lines of your shape with your mind's eye, slowly scanning through your body as you quiet the breath. Visit different parts of your body, noticing how they are responding to the practice, to your shavasana, to your quiet breath. Anytime you find your mind wandering, it's okay. Bring it back to your breath and notice how that steers you back to the present moment, which is steeped in truth. Couple more breaths. And as you're ready, remain true to the practice. We don't want to rush out of Shavasana. We want to slowly deepen our breath and build on our breath and build on our movement. Bit by bit, return to a two-legged table, a couple of breaths in each stage of your exit. Remain true to your experience, noticing what happens. Stop and smell the roses. And pet the kitty. Take your time and we'll meet in whatever seated position feels right for you. So we apply Satya to our practice all the time. When you're attentive to your needs, you're more likely to answer the call and create an experience that is meaningful to you. It's no one else's experience. You're always changing to meet others' needs. No, we want to stay true to ourselves. So whatever seated position you're in, let's add another mudra, Sampota mudra. Put your left hand, cup it on the bottom, and put your right hand cupped on top. So they're slightly cupped right on top. There's space between the hands, as if you're hiding something in your hands. This is your treasure chest mudra. Truth is your treasure. Hold it close to you. And take a few more breaths. Maybe eyes closed. Feel the softness in the shoulders, the lengthening of the neck. As you hold your Sampota mudra. Keeping what's near and dear to you, close to you and close to your heart. And you can release that mudra, Ajani mudra. May you be safe, happy, and free from suffering. Namaste. And thank you so much for your practice. I'll be sending the recording soon, which I need to stop. I think my cat stole my phone. No, it's behind me. We went a couple minutes over. I apologize for that.
That's okay.
So thank you. Feel free to pop out as you need to.
Thank you, Jennifer.
All right. Thank you.